How we doing, guys? And it's finished. Manchester United 0, Arsenal 1. I tell you something, that was the most unconvincing 1-0 win we will probably have all season. It was literally smash and grab, 1-0 to the Arsenal, get out of there with 3 points and move on. It cannot be any more clearer than that. The performance itself was really, really poor. The way that we were moving the ball, the lack of cutting edge in our passing, it was just very, very poor. The first half in particular, we were getting caught very high in possession. Manchester United were breaking really quick, and we looked very sluggish and very much all over the place, very un-Arsenal-like. But you always got that feeling of we will be able to, stand firm because of how good our defence actually is. Even when they're a little bit shaky and maybe not as convincing as normal, they still go and do the job. They still command, the area and whatnot. And, there was an incident in the first half as well with David Raya getting caught on the ball, and Man United was screaming for a penalty. Wasn't, but little moments like that we don't normally see ourselves, getting into. Just really, really poor play in general. Martin Odegaard, I thought his work rate today was exceptional, but it was those little moments where you want him to open up the door that he just didn't get right today. And the first half in particular, he was in some very, very good positions, and he was just picking the wrong pass. It was over hit, under hit, went to a Manchester United player. It was just one of those days where you're looking at it and going, what is going on? Is it, start of season, kind of, them games that you get right at the beginning when you kind of need a couple to get into your rhythm. We've watched everybody else doing their job, and, with all due respect to Bournemouth, because I know they actually beat us twice last season, but Liverpool couldn't have asked for a better start to, their Premier League campaign, a home game against Bournemouth. Manchester City couldn't have asked for a better game away to Wolves, who I think are going to be fighting relegation. Chelsea have dropped points today against Crystal Palace, but when you look at the fixtures came out, you'd probably say they were quite happy with a home game against Crystal Palace. So when you're looking at the fixtures that came out, you're kind of going, away at Manchester United, first game of the season. Oh no. And you look at the storylines and the subplots and Benjamin Sesko coming on, and you're thinking, oh no, he's going to rise and, tower a header into the top corner, and everyone's just going to be like, oh no. And it's, yeah. And my biggest issue going into this game, and I said it in my preview, is that we notoriously play poor against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Even, during Wenger's reign, when we were really good and we had such a good side and everything, coming to Old Trafford and winning was very few and far between. We always came here and we struggled. And, I alluded to it as well, that last season, we came to Old Trafford towards the end of last season, and Manchester United were terrible, absolutely terrible. And yet they played us off the park, and they should have beaten us. And if it wasn't for David Raya, they would have beaten us. And we managed to get out of there with a 1-1 draw. And even the season before that, I know we won as well, right? Before the end of the season, I think it was 1-0. Trossard scored when we had that hideous tennis ball kit. But yeah, even in that game, we wasn't that great as well. And, today, I wouldn't say it was down to the fact that David Raya saved us like last season. I just think that Manchester United huffed and puffed and got to an area that they just couldn't penetrate. They just couldn't get past. There was no real clear-cut chances. I know, was it Doku in the first half, you know, long-range distance shot from an angle, hit the outside of the post. They were having pop shots from distance that were very easy for Raya to save. A couple of crosses in the box. I think a Sesko header, which was saved by Raya. But there was no real opening in us, you know, up. No real chances where you're like, oh, no. And even, you know, once we went into injury time and you see the board go up, there's 6 minutes and you're like, oh, no, Fergie time, here we go again. But it wasn't even that. It didn't feel like there was any, you know, consistent pressure from Manchester United. There was never real threat. There was no dominance. And it didn't even feel like the fans believed that they were going to do it. And if you're listening to some of the fans outside the stadium, they were saying that they've wasted a big opportunity today because they've come up against an Arsenal side that won't play that badly again. They won't, you know, go to games and play that poorly. And it was a big opportunity for them to get 3 points and start the season with a win at Old Trafford. But they never got it. They couldn't even salvage a draw. And as we were going into injury time, my mind was thinking about if they go and score and, you know, it's a draw, then a point isn't too bad. But then you don't want to concede in injury time because it feels like a defeat, and all these different permutations going around in your head and everything else. But overall, at the end of the day, I felt we were comfortable in the second half. I felt that we nullified the threat, you know, with the counter attack and everything else, and it wasn't as bad as it was in the first half. And I feel that Arteta got the substitutions right as well. I think Gyökeres worked really hard, but you could see he started to tire, and, you know, he's going to need a few more weeks to really get up to, you know, match sharpness and everything else. And Madueke come on. Martinelli was disappointing. Saka worked hard, but again, his overall play was disappointing. Odegaard, like I said, played really well. Work rate was exceptional. It was just that little bit of cutting edge in the final thirds that was missing. But overall, yeah, decent enough. And then, what did we have then? Calafiori, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Timber for Ben White. So what that showed is the strength in depth. It showed that we're able to, you know, make changes in key areas and still look solid. I think there was one moment with Miles Lewis-Skelly towards the end where we actually had a corner when we played it back towards the halfway line, and I was like, what are you doing, boys? And he nearly got caught on the ball, and that's not a place you want to get caught on the ball. But, you know, what I could say to this is, listen, at the end of the day, we got Leeds next, then we got Liverpool away. We can't play like we did today at Anfield. We can't do it because Liverpool's attack is frightening and they're so good. But we need to do more going forward. So I want to see something happen in the window over these next couple of weeks. Who that might be, whether it's Rodrigo, they talk about, you know, we want an out-and-out left-sided player and it's Rodrigo and not Eze. Or it could be Eze and we're going to step in and, you know, make sure he doesn't go to Spurs, because if there was a choice between the two, he's picking Arsenal. But if Arsenal don't want him and Spurs have got a free run, then so be it. Yeah, at the end of the day, I want to see something happen. I think we need it defensively and everything else. We're solid, but it's the first game of the season. It's a win. It's 3 points. It wasn't pretty, but it was never pretty under George Graham, and I didn't care. So it was nice being back at a game. It was nice being back, you know, in the stands at Old Trafford and watching Arsenal and everything else. And yeah, we got the job done. We did what we had to do, and we move on. 3 points in the bag, 1-0 to the Arsenal, and it's as simple as that. So listen, let me know what you thought about the game. Let me know what you think and the performance and all the rest of it. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you smash a like on this video, and I will see you lot very soon. I'm out of here.